Well, hello, good morning and welcome to this latest Bristol Life Business Club, the Business Services of Bristol, sponsored once more by Bevan, Brittan. It's a discussion with 4 different business services this morning, and we'll be discussing how they and their clients have been responding to these times, how they've changed, what's better, not what's worse, that's a bit dull really, but what they think of the year ahead, and focusing us all on the challenges of the year ahead, the opportunities of this great reset as we seek to rebuild our business pipelines. We'll be speaking with our disparate panel, which feature Phil Robinson, Creative Director of Proctor and Stevenson, Philippa Constable, the founder of Women Mean Biz, Gareth Sanders, the owner of Sparkle Cleaning, and Caroline Harris, founder and director of Spirit Public Relations. Please do send your questions using the Q&A button below. They can be anonymous if you wish, or named, which is better, but it's up to you. And add your company name to those questions where possible as well. Note that today's Business Club is being recorded and will be on our Bristol Life YouTube channel later this afternoon. Before a few updates from us about Bristol Life, let's hear from Louise Robling of Bevan, Brittan. Louise, good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you very much. Bevan, Brittan, I want to welcome everybody to today's event. As well as one of the biggest law firms in the city, we've always been a long-term supporter of Bristol Life Business Club. It's a really important way of connecting the businesses in our location, sharing experiences between us, and it's been even more important during the course of the pandemic when we've been unable to see each other face to face. Obviously, all businesses have been significantly impacted by the pandemic, but things do seem to be more positive, and we're hopefully looking forward to some restrictions being lifted on us later on in the year, and we'll hopefully then be able to meet face to face again. But this is a timely event to hear how the businesses in our city are planning for the future, hopefully taking forward some of the positives that we'll have experienced over the last 12 months as we look to build back our business in Bristol and to see it grow as a city. So, Greg, I think that's enough for me, and I'll hand back to you now. Thank you.
That's really good, Louise. Thank you to you and also to Bevan, Brittan, of course. And we really do, just to echo one of your points there, we really do look forward to being back in real life with the business clubs at Avon Gorge. Probably that's going to be in the autumn now. We will continue running these business clubs virtually until then, and we'll also be running our business surgeries. I'll talk about those in a moment. They will continue virtually in the future. So thank you to Louise, and let's have some comments and sort of rather updates on Bristol Life before we get going. So talking of our business clubs and surgeries, our next business club is about new businesses on April the 6th. It's a great opportunity to highlight interesting new ventures and explore their thinking. Please talk to us if either that's you, of course, or if it's one of your clients. Look out for our next Bristol Life Business Surgery. These are the paid for events on April 14th with Data Sharp Integrated Communications. This one is talking timely, as Louise just said. This one I think is particularly timely. It's about hybrid working. Few of us will be returning full-time to the office or working solely from home in the future. Most will have some sort of combination. Hence, we're exploring what it means for companies' tech and comms needs with Data Sharp. Should be really a good session. A week after, as the following Bristol Life Business Surgery on April 21st with Close Brothers Property Finance about financial planning. It's always pertinent, and in these times, anyone trying to figure out either their company finances or their personal finances, and they often intermingle with entrepreneurs and owners, that will be a very timely session as well. The surgeries are sort of bespoke deep dive sessions showcasing companies' expertise through discussion. So please talk to us if you wish to be involved, because on the one hand, we can all do with advice, and the sessions are free to hear, but also we can all do with new business as well. Talking of new things, we're doing a special online conference for the hospitality sector called the Crumbs Takeaway. Frankly, of all the sectors being hit by the pandemic, this has been hit pretty much the hardest. The virtual conference we're running, as mentioned here, on April 19th, is part of our Crumbs brand. As a takeaway, as in what you gain from a conference. It'll feature national level insights and keynotes, panel sessions, practical insights, and some truly heartwarming tales of the good that people do, how hospitality businesses have responded to support others during the pandemic. If you're in hospitality, please do join. Check the Crumbs social media feed, as well as Bristol Life. And if you supply the sector, want to show your support or raise your profile, let's do talk. Our awards. This is all, real life stuff which will re-emerge later in the year. We're delighted to say that Bristol Life Awards will be back on September 16th. The nominations are open right now. They close on April 22nd, so just over a month to go. And then we'll announce the finalists shortly afterwards. We've got 13 sponsors already committed, which is, it itself is heartwarming, and several other categories under discussion. Everyone coming together, from the coolest of the indies to the largest of the corporates, after this year of all years, will be just a high watermark for Bristol's businesses this year. If you're an ambitious company or one seeking to rebuild the business pipeline, or just proud to be a leading Bristol company, please do consider sponsoring. Please also do nominate. One top tip, it's a great opportunity to foreground just how strong your team has responded in the pandemic. We're not expecting, so many companies to come forward and say, we've had a record year, we busted our numbers and all that sort of stuff that often is the case with nominations. We all know it's been bloody tough. And of course, there's a section in the awards nomination elements which covers that. But it is that chance to at least, fly the flag for your company. The Property Awards, following our highly successful, if wholly virtual awards at the Bristol Property Symposium a couple of weeks back, our 2021 Property Awards will be back on 12th of November at Ashton Gate in real life. Lunchtime and afternoon event. It's just a great celebration of the property scene, 700 attendees, and God knows how many convivial business meetings, which there undoubtedly will be. And yeah, sponsorships are available, of course. At the heart of all of what we do is Bristol Life. We're really, really proud to publish a magazine that celebrates the very best of this incredible city. From arts to professional services, from hospitality to property, from business services to retail, from startups to long-standing businesses and everything in between. But we're also really proud of the support we've had from businesses of Bristol during these times. And very, very sincerely, thank you to you for supporting Bristol Life, particularly during this last quarter. And then, of course, it's just great building and the confidence rising. Okay. Let's do this. Let's bring forward our speakers. First up, if the system works, we're going to have Phil Robinson, the Creative Director of Proctor and Stevenson. Phil, good morning to you.
Hi, Greg. Good morning.
How's you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well indeed.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been a reasonably long-term Proctor and Stevensoner. I don't know what your internal phrase is for the tribe. But
yes. Yes. Been here a long time. Started back in 2004, actually, with a background in writing. But now I head up the creative team here. We have a team of photographers, designers, writers, filmmakers, the whole shooting match, really.
I mean, it must be, I'm going to ask a couple of business questions, of course, but from a creative point of view, having that diversity of media and diversity of people you work with, let alone your clients, it must be really, really quite satisfying, I'd imagine.
Oh, it absolutely is. I like to think of the studio as a real hotbed of creativity. Lots of different people, lots of different backgrounds, lots of different skills, all brought to bear on combined challenges. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting place to work.
Yeah. And as far as you as a wordsmith, I hesitate to even asking this question, but here we go. As far as you can generalize or pick out sort of key themes, how are you, and especially your clients, viewing this year now?
The year gone or the year coming, Greg? Sorry.
Really, the year coming. Yeah.
The year coming, I think with great optimism, I would say. Our clients particularly are mainly business-to-business organisations. And from where we were this time last year, when there was, I think, fair to say, a good degree of consternation and anxiety, and how do they keep doing business in the way they've always done it? I think we've had a really good year of applying our creative thinking and ingenuity together with our clients and arriving at some really good solutions that have overcome that issue of not having physical interaction with their customers, which has been the major concern that people have. But thanks to things like digital technology, we've really been able to find some quite innovative solutions to that problem and made it clear that business can continue. So there is optimism there.
Well, let's just talk through some of that, and perhaps particularly around the creative challenges through to COVID. Yeah. How the narrative has changed when advising on marketing campaigns and then creating them. You think it's better to sort of to confront it, to reference it, or simply just not reference it at all due to the sheer enormity of it?
Well, there was a huge stampede, I think, at first for our brands to show themselves to be in tune with the whole sentiment of the world, and the whole now more than ever sort of advertising that you see all of the time. But I think that's become tired, and I think brands really need to remain relevant to what their customers need and want. Obviously, the context of the pandemic is crucial because that's the main factor in everyone's life right now. But to be seen to in some way commercialize it or make commercial gain out of it is absolutely wrong. So I think people just need to, as they always have done in marketing, be relevant to their customers and make offers that are based on what people actually want and need.
So when you're looking out across the sort of canvas of this year, and of course, caveat, it's going to be different for each client, or at least each sector. Mm-hmm. What do you think might be some of the enduring changes in the sort of value set of consumers and businesses that will ensure that you will be addressing as a team? There's
absolutely no question that the number one change that will remain a constant is, in our experience, is the digitalization of the world. The fact that everyone has had to become, to one degree or another, a digital business over the last 12 months. When people couldn't interact physically, people have found ways to replicate that in the digital world. And some of the efficiencies and speed and the idea of being a much more agile business, all of those things should remain in place. And the creative thinking, the way that everyone had to approach new challenges in different ways, I think that ingenuity should remain a constant as well over the next 12 months and beyond.
Well, that comes very neatly onto my next question, so I'm gratified for that, which is, in happier times, clients absolutely thrive on boldness. I can imagine you as a creative team at Proctor & Stevenson absolutely love that boldness. Are you finding there's a greater conservatism, or is there still space for innovation and boldness?
I would actually probably say the opposite. I would say that from 12 months ago, when everyone was anxious about the future, everyone recognized the value of creative boldness and doing things differently. And I think there's an appetite that remains for that. I think people haven't sort of normalized back to where they were previous to 12 months ago. And I think the idea that everyone recognizes the value in challenging the norm or looking for innovation, I think people can see that is where businesses will succeed. And I think that sentiment still holds true.
In almost an existential sense, this has been a challenge to all of our sense of existence and our creativity and so on. So I guess, this very much tallies with what you're saying, that now is the time when creativity, there's a greater premium on it, because we've all been sort of loosened up. We've all been shaken up by this process. So it's time for new thinking.
Exactly that. That's exactly right. The shackles have been thrown off. And people have recognized that there are different ways to do things. You don't have to do the same thing in the same old way all of the time. So even as we hopefully come out of the pandemic, I think people really want to maintain that sort of spirit of innovation and don't want to settle back into, right, let's just do what we always did previous to this. I think really there is an appetite there to do it.
And one might say on a macro basis, it's some of what happened previously, which has been part of the problem. We don't necessarily want to just regress back to that. Phil, for now, thank you for that. We'll ask you to read the panel in a sec, but thank you.
Thank you.
Bring forward Philippa Constable on screen. Good morning, Philippa.
Good morning. Hi, Greg.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad, thank you. Feeling a little bit, under the weather. I had my vaccine last night, so I woke up this morning feeling a few side effects, but I'm okay. I'm okay.
Well, okay, we can go live. This isn't a reportage, so we've all obviously seen the story about certain countries at least putting on hold currently the AstraZeneca vaccine. Two things. One, did you have the AZ or Oxford jab? And two,
yeah.
How have you been?
How have I been? Sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, assuming you had the AstraZeneca jab.
Oh, okay. So just feel a bit hot, achy, sort of flu symptoms. Really, I've taken paracetamol. It's fine, honestly.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, I won't add to your ranks by asking you any crappy questions. I'll just ask you some nicer stuff. Just tell us about your network and how the business model has changed in these times.
Yeah, well, I mean, it changed enormously, obviously, for all of us, didn't it? A year ago now, I can't believe it's been a whole year. So we are 100% an online network now, or the whole community, everything is on Zoom. Zoom's our new friend. And, we managed to, within 24 hours, when it was all announced, we literally, the next meeting was the next day. We managed to get it and scrabble together and get ourselves online, which was quite interesting. I had used Zoom before, so I had some idea of how it worked, but it's been a learning curve. And we've learned through the year to create networking meetings that people really enjoy and can do, and take away some of the Zoom fatigue that we've heard a lot of people talk about, which has been one of the hot topics, I think, in the last 12 months, because we've all had to go so digital. But yeah, I think what's been quite interesting is to see the strength of the community and how well it's pulled together, and supporting one another through what's been very difficult times for quite a few of the members in the network.
Yeah, I've got a riposte for you on the Zoom fatigue thing, which I believe up to a point. It's a paraphrasing Dr. Johnson that anyone who's tired of London is tired of life. Anyone who's tired of Zoom is our friend, I guess. But it will be a material part of our lives going forward, of course, or Teams likewise. I just wondered on that point though, is there part of you that actually, dare I say, sort of prefers this virtual model? It's more efficient, it's easier.
There is definitely talk about that, and we did introduce an online only membership last year, so we've got people that have joined the network as an online member, and that's where they will stay. So we will have, moving forward, our community will be a hybrid of both online and face-to-face networking. I think that a lot of people have seen the efficiency, the time saving, it saves money, it just ticks so many boxes for a lot of people. I think there was a lot of resistance at first, because I think it's this new thing, and I'm not sure if I like this. And we actually did have some members that just left. I'm not doing this. They were very resistant to it to start with, but that was just a small number. I think that moving forward, it will be a hybrid of the two. We will gently and slowly reintroduce some face-to-face networking meetings. We don't really know until we do it whether there's going to be a stampede back or some cautiousness and resistance to that. I already got members saying to me, can I just stay online? Those that were previously face-to-face community members, they were, that's what they were used to before, but already saying online works for me. I want to stay online. So what will be interesting is actually the percentage of number of people that actually want to stay online compared to those that actually want to get back into the room. Personally, from my own personal point of view, I feel there will be value in both. I think you cannot beat the energy you have in the room full of people when you're mingling and talking to each other and hearing speakers. You do lack, I think, that human connection online. So there will be people that will miss that. And I think also it's good for us to get out, get in our car and go somewhere and meet and talk to other people. So there will definitely be online as well as face-to-face networking in the future.
And I suspect for you, as with us, we will be applying the same sort of approach. For example, the Bristol Life Awards, you've almost paraphrased one of the key strat for it, which is nothing beats being there, that sense of communal moment where everyone experiences the same thing live. But we'll have the long tail of a digital approach as well through live streaming. So talk about maybe a couple of your clients about how they've adapted to these times, not just from the how you work with them through the network, but what they've been doing.
Yeah, well, it's been a real mix. I mean, we've got some members that are absolutely flying, and I think it all depends what their business is. And it depends which industry sector you're in as to how it's affected you. We've got quite a few members in the tourism industry, and their business has literally stopped altogether. They've had to almost park their business. And a few of them have gone out and got jobs, and literally hope to be able to pick up their business again when things start to pick up for them, which that's beginning to show, that's beginning to happen. We've got others that perhaps more in the creative industries or B2B. Those businesses seem to be doing, either they're doing well or some of them are really flying. And some members have actually been incredibly creative, and they've taken their business online. They've designed new online programs. They've embraced the fact that actually they can do business anywhere now across the globe. There are no restrictions. So it has opened up a lot of new opportunities as well for a lot of people. I think it just depends on the individual. I think it depends on the business and what they do as to how people have responded. But it's been a mixed bag. There's been definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah, and I guess it will trend to, if not the new normal, but the next normal as we all iterate our businesses in the coming year. Philippa, for now, thank you. If you step away, as they say, and bring forward Caroline, founder of Spirit PR. Caroline, you've got a good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Yes, fine, thank you.
So you've got a diverse array of clients. Each have been facing different levels of challenges and so on. But let's just talk about how you've been advising. Well, first off, what's perhaps most surprised you about your clients' response to the pandemic?
Gosh, what has surprised me? I suppose, strangely enough, it may not be such a business thing. I think the extent to which everyone has shared some of the rest of their life, how much closer people have become, you know, to clients or people that they work with. So, you know, the depth of the personal relationships that have established through, I think, the shared challenges we've all had. So, you know, I know far more about my clients and their lives, perhaps, than I'd known before. And
their children and their dogs and their bedrooms.
Absolutely, absolutely. And people seem much less afraid of explaining that when you've called them, they're taking their dog for a walk, or, you know, a child pops into the room, or, you know, actually this is a really difficult time and, you know, they've had to go and look after their father who's got Alzheimer's and is working from his house. So I think it's that sense that actually people have opened up, which I think is a really positive thing.
There's several paradoxes of the pandemic, and one is this greater humanity that you say. It's almost as though, you know, we're further apart and yet we're closer still, and that's an odd position. So let's come on to when advising your clients and how to approach how they are then marketing themselves and positioning themselves, perhaps. Have you found that, you know, that some have taken the view, when in doubt, don't do anything, just hunker down, it's the best strategy, pulling out the metaphorical blanket and so on?
I think initially, when, you know, probably wheeling back a year, when all of this was unfolding, there was just a general sense of panic and freeze and furlough everyone and so on, because nobody really, you know, such an unknown world. And I think things, I would sort of concur with the earlier speaker, really things have changed, and actually people have rolled up their sleeves and worked out what they want to do. I mean, the one thing I would say, given that, you know, what we're advising clients about a lot of the times, their reputations, how they manage their reputations, is whilst marketing may have moved on in some senses around your products and services, I think being incredibly conscious of where everybody else is at, where your customers are at, does seem to me to be a very important thing. So I can think of one of our clients, which is a big property company, and we're working on shorter term strategies because the world is changing so fast. So, you know, long term, how do you do it? And being very, very conscious of where their customers are at in their lives at that point.
It's that phrase, we're all in the same storm, just in different boats. And the extra degree of empathy, which you know, quite rightly people have been exhibiting, because they realise that whatever difficulties they're experiencing, others are having it much worse, or conversely. And I wanted to come on to that point, which is, have you had with some clients, they've almost experienced a form of survivor's guilt? They don't want to make too much noise about their success in these times.
Well, actually, if I'm being honest, no, I haven't. In the sense that actually, you know, I think some of them are in very sort of clear sort of sector areas. So we're working with a couple of film and TV production companies, and actually they've been under pressure. You know, that's been a massive growth area, and they've been under pressure to deliver and to scale up and so forth. No, I think there is much more of a sense of collaboration. You know, so perhaps if you're talking about that kind of competitive edge, it's less elbowing others out of the way and more working with others. I get that strong sense. And I think the other thing is that I do have a sense that making some kind of contribution to society which was already happening before this. That kind of meme has accelerated through the pandemic. So, you know, having a purpose, having a conscience, putting something back, all of those things, I think will go on being important as we emerge from the pandemic. I think those things are here to stay.
And those have been, many of the points you've just touched on have been key characteristics. It's noticeable that Bristol has had that in absolute, you know, a strong hand in that at every single stage, but if anything, it's been accelerated. So just to play that back to you, so if companies are more civically minded, they're perhaps more empathetic about their teams, their clients, they're more flexible when it comes to working from home as opposed to, you know, insisting everyone's in these serried ranks in an office. Are we sort of all becoming a bit more Scandinavian?
Well, maybe we're all just becoming these sort of artificial divisions that we've all had, you know, the different hats that we wear have perhaps merged a bit, and we've realized that actually, you know, you don't come to work without what else is going on in your life. You maybe aren't at home without having some thoughts about work, and just perhaps a bit more understanding. I mean, I'm not saying it's all good. We, you know, we personally, I don't know anyone who hasn't had a personal challenge and is not finding this difficult. But I do think there are some good things to hold on to, both personally and as people take their businesses forward. And I do think there is optimism as well. But back to what someone else was saying, that I do get that sense that people are desperate to get back out there, particularly. So one of our clients are the retailers in Wapping Wharf. You know, they've pivoted, they've been really innovative, they collaborate, but they are just really keen to get back out there.
Human beings are you know, incredibly resilient and inherently creative bodies or whatever, and it is extraordinary. We've you know, I don't want to push it too much because it'll sound like enjoying it, and we haven't really enjoyed it, but it has been, one element's been a joy that we've found with Bristol Life in the last 12 months is finding the good that people do, and it's just there all over the place, the cleverness, the thoughtfulness, and to help celebrate that with Bristol Together as the hashtag, and you've seen that with your clients. I just wondered, just on a, dare I say, on a slightly more negative point, have there been some approaches which clients have said, we really would like to do X, and you've said, oh, just hang on a second, this is less appropriate in these times. You've had to sort of steer them into this more thought.
Yeah, absolutely, and you have to be very, oh, well, I'll give you a live example, actually. We've got so on the 23rd of March, there's going to be this big day of reflection. And someone has, you know, I think there have been various things suggested, and one is tying ribbons on trees. And we have a big property client, and you're thinking, how will this play out? Will this seem like a sort of gimmick, a knee jerk? You know, is there something perhaps more long-term and sustainable they could be doing? You know, how does it sit to take part in some of those incredibly deep and meaningful activities without looking like you're just trying to commercialize it? So how do you empathize and show you care for the community whilst at the same time, you know, not seeming to kind of take it over?
And do you have an answer to your own question?
No, that is a very difficult one. I mean, ideally, if we probably have a bit more time, it would work better for them if it was something sustainable. We have a big meeting tomorrow. We'll discuss it with them, and we'll see whether there's something that can be done that feels, you know, right for their developments and their customers. But tricky decisions all the time.
And I'm sure one way or another we're all navigating that, the sort of the inappropriateness at some times, or the tokenistic nature. You know, yesterday's incredibly heartwarming clap for carers. In retrospect, now you think, well, hang on a second, how about a salary? That might be quite appropriate. I don't want to stray too much into that area. Caroline, we'll talk about some other matters as part of the panel in the session. So thank you for that for now. So thanks. Let's hear. I mentioned earlier it's a disparate panel, it's a willfully disparate panel, and here we have Gareth Sanders stepping forward, the owner of Sparkle Cleaning. And Gareth, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. A little bit tired. I had a child a couple of weeks ago, so I'm recovering.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Congratulations. Was that your first?
Yeah. First, we had a little boy.
Oh, just magical. Just magical times.
Tomorrow.
When you said a little bit tired, my mind immediately and completely wrongly went to, oh yeah, you know, some heavy night out, because there's no such thing. those days shall return. So tell us a little bit about Sparkle for those who don't know it. You've been in this sector for about a decade personally, as a company. So
yeah, so Sparkle Cleaning, we are a commercial cleaning company. We focus on the offices, the pubs, restaurants, that sort of stuff. We don't worry about domestic. We don't do anything else. We are direct in that niche of professional cleaning services.
And presumably you've had a variety of responses from your clients during this pandemic, including several of those businesses that essentially shuttered for much of the time. Is that and how has that been for you as a business?
So back to the first lockdown, it was very, very difficult. We lost about 80% of our business overnight, with offices closing, pubs, restaurants, all the likes of it. We're very lucky in what we've been able to achieve in the last 12 months to get back to further ahead than we were last year. And we've still got offices and pubs and restaurants, obviously, to come back to us. So we've been very, very lucky in that aspect.
So you've managed to navigate through. Have you changed the business, other than the mix of clients, of course, which has changed through external circumstances largely? Have you changed the offering in any way?
So there's two big changes we've had to make. The first one is how we do everything. So we're obviously an industry that's very, very face-to-face. If someone rings up and says, "Can you quote our office?" we had to design a way to quote someone over the phone, because people, we're getting it at the moment, people are calling us up, our pub's due to open in a couple of weeks, month, whatever it turns out to be. And we've got to design a way to now quote that without seeing that premises. So we had to completely change the way we did it and form those relationships, which has been very, very successful. And we've been now operating on that for the best part of a year. And we've got it pretty much bang on. The other way is how we market the business. And what we looked at right at the beginning is what a lot of our competitors were doing. And there are a lot of our competitors going, we'll offer you COVID cleans and fogging and all the rest of it. And we sat down, and this is me, my team here, our franchisees, and we went, how do we want to present ourselves in the next 12 months? And so we decided to go down an educational route. And what that looked like from us is to develop posters, back to work packs, various things like that. The best one, in my opinion, we've come up with is a range of kids books. So we've actually developed, we've designed, and we've sent out these kid books. You can download them off our website if you want, all about Captain Sparkles. And he's a pirate, and it's all about how he cleans and keeps himself safe whilst he's going around the world, visiting different places and the ships and all the rest of it. And what we're trying to do with that is educate the next generation as they come through, who are going to be living with this for years to come and learning about it. But how can they keep themselves safe from a cleaning perspective?
What a brilliant initiative. The idea, trying to imagine you maybe February last year, early March, that you at some point would decide we're going to have Captain Sparkle. That's going to be a thing. And that it has value, of course, to you as a business and positionally, but also has that educative value. Whose idea was that?
I think it was actually one of the franchisees. So every time we get together, we do what we call negative marketing, and we come up with some ridiculous ideas. To give you an example, they've been buy a blimp and fly it around the country. Captain Sparkles was another one, and various different things. And for some reason, that one stuck with us. And so we went down a bit of a rabbit hole, designed it, built it out, and now we've got 3 different books.
Amazing. You set out as a business, and it's quite clear in how you are. I'm not being shallow by saying positioned, because it's more fundamental than this, but you're positioned very much as a focus on charity and doing good by your people and so on. Has that been both more important, but also more difficult in these times?
Yeah, so from a financial perspective, it's certainly been more costly and difficult. But it meant at the beginning that it was very easy to make certain decisions. For example, things like when the furloughs first came out, we obviously had to furlough a lot of our team. And it didn't take a lot of discussion as, well, do we top them up? Yes, that's one of our core values. We always say when a team joins us, when a client joins us, they become our family. Our number one core value is family comes first. And so from that perspective, it was very easy for us to make those sort of decisions But from finances, when you're losing 60, 70, 80% of your business overnight, it means that you have to handle cash very carefully.
Yeah. And then looking forward, whatever blend we each might think individually, it's broadly true. I think there's a consensus that there's going to be far greater working from home in the future once offices are reopened and premises are reopened than previously. How does that affect your business?
There are always going to be people who need to work from offices. What we've done in the last 6-7 months is we've identified and we've changed who we target. And we've looked at it from the industry, manufacturing, hospitality, these people who are going to have to keep their business from a premises rather than home. And so we've worked very hardly with the team and marketing companies to target those specifically.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's, Gareth, let's bring our other panelists back forwards and we'll have a chat across the piece. And, I'm sure in the sort of classic Zoom way, everyone's going to play nicely and not talk over each other, but we'll have a bit of that. I'm sure that's half the fun of Zoom, isn't it? Tell me this. Here's a question. What have you learned during this time? Don't all rush.
I'll go first if that's okay. And I've really learned that people in my team especially, and the clients we work with, are incredibly adaptable. People, one, they enjoy the whole process of breaking out of convention and looking for new routes and having innovations in the way they do things. But just that, as you mentioned, resilience and adaptability, people can really achieve incredible things when the pressure's on. And that's been a really rewarding thing for me to see.
Okay, that's a deep learning, and one hopes that is recurrent learning, as it were, that the iterations of that will, for each of your businesses and for multiple sectors within Bristol, that will recur. Any other learnings that you found, either from a personal point of view about how you're regarding your business, your teams, or from a client point of view?
I would say that two things really. Flexibility is here to stay. My team have opted to work more flexibly, and that's not going to change. And I think I would agree. People have been prepared to make bigger, bolder decisions that perhaps they should have made, including ourselves, but that perhaps we should have made before. But it seems to have emboldened people, I think, to take bigger steps.
Well, Caroline, the former journalist in me has to ask you this question. When you say including yourself, so what bigger, bolder steps have you more recently taken that you should have done previously?
I mean, maybe these aren't going to sound so dramatic, but we've given notice on our office and are now going to look to work in a very different way, both remotely, but to try and work in a more collaborative way. We have finally got round to beginning to sort out and rethink our website. We've decided to recruit. So it's, and I think we've been a bit more focused about the sectors that we want to be in. So things that we've endlessly talked about as a small team to do, actually, we've sort of done.
There you go. There's another paradox. The great pause has also been the great accelerator. Brought forward undercurrents or whatever, mixing my metaphors. Gareth, were you about to say something there?
No.
You weren't. Well, that's fine. That's straightforward of you, sir. But let's come on to new business and how you've each, either as replacement business, as stuff that's either temporarily gone away or whatever, or entirely new business. How have you found the best way to generate new business? What have been your routes to market in these times?
So for us, it was purely that education. We put a lot of effort, rather than doing the general advertising, which we would usually do, put a lot of effort into that education. And what we found is it's got us a foot in the door in one office, and then they've gone home and they've spoken to a partner, whatever, and that partner's gone, oh, well, we need a cleaner as well. And so we found that through the education that's been shared on a much wider scale than anything we've tried to do before.
Yeah. Any other takes on this about routes to market or ways of generating new business?
So I'll just say that I think that the digital world, because we've all been working also remotely, has got very busy, hasn't it? And there's a lot of people on all the different digital platforms, social media platforms. And I think it's been quite important actually to have a really good strategy, marketing wise, to be able to find ways to stand out. But I think also the tone of voice is really important and has been for the last year. And to be really relevant as well, and be able to really identify with your audience of, you know, your potential clients. So I think that what I've seen is people investing quite a lot more time and learning how to really communicate in a way that's real and really genuine to connect with our audience through digital. So I think the digital area has been seen a huge boom. And it was already pretty big anyway, but it's definitely got even busier.
And maybe for you, Phil, is you know, the perhaps more traditional way of generating new business, of having those the crowd on the pitch, as it were, these great presentations to clients and winning them over through your brilliant creativity and so on. Mm-hmm. That's been more difficult. How have you approached it, that new business?
So from a new business point of view, there's no substitute for hard work. Our new business department has been really, really busy in the traditional ways, you know, outreach, email, phone conversations, that sort of thing, but also really upping our game in things like social media. I mean, we've always, you know, we're a company that does create social media for other companies, but we've really made sure we're absolutely on point there. But also things like this session, making sure that we're still presenting a human face to the world, because more than ever, I think people have wanted to connect with people. So we always remember, we always talk about it in our agency, you know, we do B2B work, but it's always human to human. And so we've really tried to make sure that has been communicated as well.
On a sort of stand-back point, I'm sure that each of you would take the long-term view of your clients, the nature of the sectors you're in and so on. But have you been able to maintain that more strategic approach in a time of sort of reactive, tactical thinking of living in the eternal, continuous present? How have you sort of navigated that element? Oh, I love it when there's silence.
Well, I think we may be fortunate in that many of our clients now, they've, you know, having sort of shut up shop, that sort of re-emerging, they absolutely see the need to promote what they're doing and are often involved in long-term projects. So actually, it's perhaps more of a challenge for people doing more project work. I would have thought from a cleaning point of view, once you've got those contracts, presumably, you know, you can maintain those. But I think if you're doing project work, that's probably a bit more of a challenge.
Although I guess projects would fit into an overall, if it's comms or marketing or whatever the strategy might be or element might be. But that point between the short term and or a variant on that question is, you know, have you found yourselves almost seizing any business, because any business is good in tough times, as opposed to the stand back and the bigger pitches, bigger clients, etc., the longer term relationships which you would more typically thrive on?
We haven't actually, because I think I've learned the hard way that you always regret that. Once you're actually doing it, you spend your whole time going, we knew we shouldn't be doing this. Why are we doing this? No, we've tried to be grown up about looking at some opportunities that have come our way and actually fielding them over to other fellow PR companies who might be better suited, with that sense that, you know, then they may field things to you, really, rather than trying to pitch for things that either you have a slim chance of winning and therefore is a lot of effort, or that actually, if you do win, you aren't best placed to deliver.
Yeah, I'll come back to the competition in a moment. Philippa, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I did go through a period last year where we kind of like, we found a lot of knee-jerk reactions were happening in the first half of the year with the initial first lockdown. And then, you know, I think people were pretty scared. They thought they might lose their livelihood. And there was an awful lot of fairly quick decisions initially. So we definitely saw a drop in our membership. But then there was also a bunch of people out there suddenly scrabbling around and thinking, I need to get out networking. So we had this sort of like huge amount of people also then wanting to network, but it was all troubleshooting type behavior and not that helpful actually. And I saw quite a lot of change in the community. It felt quite unsettling really, because our community is so strong. Everyone's been in it for so long, and such a strong built so many strong long-term relationships that we sort of suddenly saw a bit of a churn going on, which I've never witnessed before. So someone would join and then, about 2 months, oh no, I've made the wrong decision, and just a lot of knee-jerk reactions. So beginning of this year, we decided to take a little bit more of a cautious approach. So anyone that's joining, I'm actually now trying to qualify them much more strongly than I've ever done before. Is this the right thing for you? Because it doesn't serve our community just to sort of take that knee jerk and just take anybody on board. So I think I have learned through this last year to actually be absolutely sure it is the right thing for the person that's wanting to spend money with us and join our community.
And take perhaps a yet more...
Anybody,
a yet more strategic approach. I want to come back to that point that Caroline sort of touched on briefly, which is competition. Do you, and it's one of these diametric things, and it won't be all one or all the other, but are you finding that your businesses are more competitive because you need the money, you need those clients, need that business, or less competitive because that's not the spirit of the times? These times are more comparative and thoughtful.
So what we've found is that the cleaning industry as a whole has got stronger during this pandemic. And there's people, when they're inviting us into their offices, they're a lot more conscious and knowledgeable about what they want from a cleaning contractor. So where it used to be is, I want someone to come and clean my premises. Okay, I don't really care about the products, the times, anything else. Now they're asking those detailed questions because they have to. So from us and our perspective, it's meant we've had to lift our game to a certain extent in the way we present ourselves and make sure that the whole team here are very, very knowledgeable about every aspect of the business, not just, what we do on a day-to-day basis.
And Phil, for you on that competitive element, it's always an interesting process in creative companies having a degree of competition, and yet the real competition is almost with yourself and your teams to create the great pieces of creativity. Are you more or less competitive?
I would say we're more competitive in the way that we've evolved. We've been able to bring to the fore things like our creative talent that's in the building here. Our digital capabilities, all our ability to pivot very quickly and develop new approaches to reaching sort of unreachable audiences, if you like, using digital media. And that's made us more competitive. But in terms of looking at the other agencies in Bristol, I mean, we're not seeking desperately to outdo anyone else. I think there's room for all of us here. And I think that breeding of a supportive, inclusive culture is only good for agencies, really. And I think that's something we look to foster as well.
Yeah. Let's go on to pricing. And, clearly some of this will be confidential, but so keep it at whatever top level you wish it to be. I wonder if you felt pressure on pricing. Either you've had to cut because you're sort of, almost keen to stroke desperate at times for clients, or of course their funding is much less secure. Or have you been able to increase prices because the value of your offering, a little bit like you talked about, Gareth, and indeed you, Phil, the value has actually increased?
So we actually have a poster in our office that says, the price is what you pay, the value is what you get, understand the difference. And so from our perspective, there have been people out there who go, oh, we're not looking to pay that anymore. That's fine. We're then not the service for you. We're very much, we charge the price we charge because of the value we can deliver. And we're in a very lucky position where people are now understanding that more. But for us, there have been some companies that have jacked up their prices. To me, that's unethical. We've kept our prices the same throughout the whole process.
Yeah, that point about price and value, we all have to traverse that point, that it's, I think there's an Oscar Wilde quote about accountants knowing the price of everything and the value of nothing, which perhaps a bit harsh, particularly we've got some accountants on this call. How have others found this pricing point? broadly the same as previously? Any diminution of pricing or any ability to raise?
So, well, Greg, we changed completely our pricing model, full stop, halfway through last year. So we wanted to respond and offer more flexible payment options. And so we now have a subscription basis business. Whereas people would normally have paid annually upfront for their networking and pay for a membership. And now it's on a monthly subscription.
Which works to clients' cash flow.
Yeah, so it's to help business owners make a decision more easily and more quickly, and it becomes more affordable and they can spread the cost of joining. It doesn't take away the fact they still need to commit to a period of time, because networking is a long-term strategy for building relationships. So we still have T's and C's, but it's just made it much more affordable and much easier for people to take that decision.
We picked up on some of this area previously in some of the one-on-one sessions. Talk about what you think might endure from these times, some additional points where either about the method of doing business or the values in business that will continue beyond whatever the point of reset is. What do we think?
I think I would first of all entirely agree with what Gareth said about the difference between price and value. And that is something that's absolutely going to continue, because value is absolutely paramount now. And what we've seen is not necessarily a reduction in client budgets. Maybe the availability of so many clients having so much budget has reduced, but the clients do tend to still have the budget. But accountability is absolutely the big thing for us now. So we have to prove the value that people are getting from us in a tangible way. It's something we've always tried to do, but it's absolutely under scrutiny now. I think that will remain. People need to be sure that what they're paying for is worth paying for. And so if you can prove that and demonstrate that, you're likely to get yourself ahead.
I mean, for several of you, and including it in our business, proof of ROI is actually complicated. That the actions aren't necessarily, causative, born of marketing or branding or whatever. Can you just explore that area briefly about how you've attempted to increase your transparency or increase your way that you can demonstrate potential ROI for clients?
That's for me, Greg.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. Well, the great advantage we got is that we're now, by and large, operating in a digital world, and digital attribution is much easier than previous offline forms of attribution when you come to marketing and creative services. You can see how many people click on things. You can see who's visited what. You can see how much engagement there has been with any content or any piece that you produce. And while it's not entirely useful to have a sort of direct attribution for example, if you've created a digital brochure, how that it can be attributed to the sales that it achieves at the end is difficult. It's far more achievable than it ever was previously. So we make sure that everything we produce has some sort of KPI attached to it.
Yeah. Others on that point about whether it's clients being more demanding or more careful, whichever, but you're having to work harder to demonstrate your worth. I know, Phil, you didn't quite put it in those terms, but essentially, directionally, it's that point.
Yeah.
Or not? Otherwise, we'll move on to something else.
I think it's important to show value anyway with what you do at full stop. So I think that, for me, hasn't really changed. I think we've spent quite a bit of time working on probably more. I think we've definitely upped our game in terms of the level of support we give individual members. And we're constantly reviewing that all the time, but I think that would have happened anyway. I'm not quite sure that what's happened in the last year has really affected that. But yeah, that was pretty much.
Demonstrating value point is always intriguing, and more in Phil's world, perhaps. There's an absolute doyen of advertising, John Hegarty. I think a client said, that would have only taken you about 15 minutes. He said, yes, it's also taken 35 years. And that, I think, is, as a riposte about how one creates value, which can be enduring, is pretty interesting. Let's move on to a point a couple of you have touched on, the civic mindedness. Have you found that these times, both whether for you individually as companies or as with your clients, have you found that people are these times have sort of tempered that sense of philanthropy and civic mindedness or enhanced them?
Well, I would say definitely enhanced. I would say that the more commercial companies we work with, that investing in the community and so on has, partly because they're doing it in their personal lives, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know about anyone else on this panel, but I spent a lot of time working with an enormous group of hobbyist 3D printers producing face shields and publicizing that. I think we all kind of rolled up our sleeves one way or another and got stuck in. And I think it feels to me that endures, and that I think just society has changed. Those things feel more important. I mean, so I think those things are here to stay. I think those are not the things that have been sacrificed. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
I completely agree. Sorry.
On you go.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think an example for us was that every year we produce an in-house film, a Christmas greeting, to send to our clients. Well, this year, and it's usually something sort of bit of fun, some sort of pop video or something like that. This year we decided instead we'd help Bristol Beats Cancer, so we'd do something for charity. And I think it was a really, really fruitful collaboration. But people here really enjoyed it because it was something different. Because work is pretty relentless for everyone right now. You can't escape it. You're doing it in your house. It's all the time. It fills all of our minds. So the ability to go and do something completely different that has a philanthropic element to it is really quite fulfilling and rewarding for people now, in my experience. So I think the philanthropic element to life has really been amplified as far as I've seen.
And crossing over from that, because it connects to the sort of localism point, have you had of course it's a bit of a leading question, but have you had a sense that the lockdown has made everything more local than it was previously, that Bristol looms larger in your thinking, your sense of the city, or is it going to be, that's inevitable during a lockdown, or we're just going to get going and doing whatever we did previously? But how you think about your locale and your city?
I think that's a tricky one for us because Bristol is central to what we do, Bristol and South West, and has been. So it's not going to change. But I think it will be interesting to see with other companies how much we'd all love to think that the gains are going to stay forever. But I think I was talking to a client had donated some money to a food bank, and I spoke to the woman there who said, my fear is that when lockdown ends, the poverty and the food need won't end, but everyone will get out and get on with their lives. So I think it remains to be seen what will happen. Yeah,
as ever, the history is the future is unwritten, and we will all discover how that emerges. We're coming to the end of this now. I just wanted to have a sort of brief observations from you each about how you're viewing the next 12 months or so, maybe from a personal point of view, perhaps professionally from your businesses, but really for the city of Bristol as well. Who would like to talk about your sense of what's going to be happening, how confident you are, how optimistic you are, or not?
I'll happily kick off. I think just two words really, hope and optimism is how myself and pretty much most people in my community are seeing the next 12 months, and new opportunities as well as we come out. I think there's going to be just hopefully a vibrant city with people out and about, getting back to what they love doing. And I think that, I just think people are going to get on with their lives. And I feel really hopeful. I feel really optimistic about the future and for our members. It's been a tough 12 months for some people, more so than others. And I think it's been a bit of a mixed bag. But I think we're hopeful. We just hope that the vaccine and all the government plans that they've got are all going to work, and we don't have to suffer this sort of lockdown in the future, mainly for our own personal health and well-being, and because that's not ideal for us really in the long term. So hope and optimism.
It's of course it's inspiring and heartwarming, but it's quite difficult to argue against hope and optimism after what we've been through. Anyone got some additional points, or indeed wish to offer a country point to that?
So from my perspective, and we're very much in the cleaning industry, obviously, what we found is we've been approached by a lot of other cleaning companies, generally smaller one-man bands. and they've asked for help and support of how they can support their local community. And what that looks like for them is how they can grow their small little businesses to get more teams in place, because they're seeing the unemployment in every area of the country going up. So they're looking for that support so they can create more jobs and therefore support their community that way. So I've had the privilege to sit on cleaning panels and offer support and run training sessions as well for these small one-man bands. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that progresses and how these teams progress over the next 12, 18, 24 months.
Thank you. Phil and Caroline, any last thoughts?
I would just say that I feel that, you know, Bristol is a fantastic, fascinating, vibrant, diverse, inclusive city. And I just get this feeling that there's a huge amount of pent-up energy sort of pushing at the starting gate, just waiting to sort of explode and get out there. I think it's going to be a fantastic year for the city, personally.
Well, that's a very strong front-footed statement. I'm sort of hoping, Caroline, you're not going to step back from that, but perhaps you will. It's up to you.
No, I would concur with all of those things. I think I would probably just slightly temper it with saying I'm very conscious of the people who have not won through this. So some of the young people, you know, so maybe really trying to look to create job opportunities for the people who haven't got them, and to remember also that actually as we come out, some people have had really difficult times personally, and I think there'll be a bit of aftermath and continued sort of support and care needed, really. And we can all do that in our working lives, just checking in with people and you know, at the beginning of our business conversations or our Zoom meetings or whatever, because I think it's not just it's over and then we all just, you know, return to the way we were. We're going to carry a lot of this with us.
Yeah, I'm sure so. Well, I know I personally found this really fascinating, heartwarming and insightful in various parts. And thank you on everyone's watching's behalf, if that's a thing, to our speakers today. Bill Robinson from Proctor and Stevenson, Philippa Constable of Women Mean Business, Gareth Sanders of Sparkle Cleaning, and Caroline Harris from Spirit Public Relations. And thank you, of course, all of you for your time and today, and whether live or on YouTube. Thanks to our business club sponsor, Bevan, Brittan, and we look forward to being in real life when we can at some later stage. Thank you, of course, also to all of your support for Bristol Life and our various iterations during this time. We're looking forward to continuing to chronicle and celebrate the city in its various ways in the coming months. Please look out for those business surgeries I mentioned with Data Sharp and Close Brothers in April next month. For those of you, you mentioned about the hospitality sector, please log that, the Crumbs takeaway on April 19th, practical help and helpful insight as well to the sector as it re-emerges. Look out also for our new business club on April 6th. It's a busy month for us, and it's a busy month for everyone. We're all gearing up now. We're all getting going. We're all being creative and resilient and collaborative and determined, and many of the themes that we've heard this morning. All of us have just got to get out there and write that future, because it's not going to write itself. Good luck to you all in the coming months. This has been a Media Clash production, and this has been the latest Bristol Life Business Club. Bristol together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.